Who is behind AZfront? This question is being asked by American, Romanian, Ukrainian, Russian, and Armenian media. What kind of force is capable of organizing conferences in Vienna and Strasbourg, holding demonstrations in Luxembourg in front of the Secretariat of the European Parliament, assisting Ukraine's intelligence services, and delivering dozens of tons of humanitarian aid to Ukraine? Who is capable of holding offline activities in Tehran and Tabriz, forcing the IRGC to react, and at the same time publicizing secret documents of the Israeli General Staff, military intelligence, Foreign Ministry, and Diaspora Ministry? Is AZfront just a Telegram channel with 750K subscribers and a YouTube channel with 150K? Or is it more than that? In this video, we will answer this question ourselves. On October 24th, Armenian propagandists launched a large-scale campaign to discredit AZfront. They made another attempt to reveal the origin of it. At the same time, it was stated without any evidence that AZfront is a propagandistic Azerbaijani media resource that belongs to the state oil company SOCAR. This is not the first such so-called exposure. For example, in October we published the text of the collective appeal of the deputies of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine in support of Azerbaijan. Armenian agitators immediately declared it a fake, stating that there is no such letter and there could not be any. In response, we published a selection of quotes from the central media of Ukraine, which covered this appeal of the deputies, as well as posts of the parliamentarians themselves from their personal Facebook pages. Our pseudo-disclosers had to instantly get off the inconvenient topic. The reason for such discrediting campaigns is obvious. AZfront is the only media resource that publishes exclusive information about Armenia's military policy, as well as about the activities of Armenian nationalists. And what is most unpleasant is that our materials are reprinted by major media outlets in Ukraine, EU countries, Israel, and sometimes even the USA. Moreover, in some cases, this entails specific measures against prominent Armenian nationalists. The reason why campaigns to discredit AZfront have been conducted on a regular basis since May is also obvious. At that time, citing a source close to the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, we published information about the beginning of a military partnership between Armenia and France. A month later, it was confirmed by an ex-advisor of the Ministry of Armed Forces of France, and in October, Paris disclosed the details of the partnership. But back in May, information of AZfront was disseminated with reference to the source by major media outlets in the United States, Israel, Romania, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Ukraine, and Moldova. In June, the same source informed us of illegal deliveries by certain Russian officers of attack drones to Armenian separatists in Karabakh. This information was reprinted by major media outlets in Ukraine. In September, AZfront was the first to publish scans of collective appeals by more than 100 rabbis in Europe to the leadership of Armenia and the President of Israel, demanding that Armenian propaganda stop using the Holocaust theme. These materials were then widely disseminated in the Jewish media of the USA, Latin America, Germany, France, as well as in the central media of Israel, Ukraine, and EU countries. Moreover, in September, AZfront was the first to publicize two official documents of the Israeli Ministry of Diaspora Affairs on the growth of anti-Semitism in Armenia, with warnings about possible attacks on Jews. On October 3rd, these fears were confirmed. A synagogue in Yerevan was attacked. And again, the documents concerning the attack were rebroadcast by the central media in Israel and a number of EU countries, as well as by all major Jewish media in the West. Moreover, in the afternoon of the 14th of September, AZfront reported, Ukraine state services are conducting, mostly covertly, various activities against agents of Moscow presenting themselves as leaders of the separatist enclave in Azerbaijani Karabakh. In the evening of the same day, one of the separatist leaders, Harutyunyan, on the initiative of the Security Service of Ukraine, was included in the Ukrainian database Mirotvorets. Then, through the central media of Ukraine, The special services of Kiev made it clear that the Armenian separatists were in their crosshairs, thus confirming the initial information of AZfront. Moreover, with the help of the special services, the media disclosed the details of the recent operation conducted against Harutyunyan. It was noted that AZfront had assisted in this. On September 20th, People's Artist of Ukraine, Irina Bilyk, and the founder of one of the famous Ukrainian rock bands, Green Grey, spoke in support of the liquidation of the Armenian separatist enclave in Karabakh. It was noted in their accounts that they did it on the initiative of AZfront. On October 11th, 20 deputies of the Verkhovna Rada from the ruling party, through AZfront, spoke in support of restoring Azerbaijan's sovereignty in Karabakh. At the same time, they emphasized the participation of AZfront in providing humanitarian assistance to the population of Ukraine. And again, publications about this were published in all central Ukrainian media. As can be seen from the above, Armenian nationalists have plenty of reasons to hate us fiercely, and since they do not have enough opportunities to physically attack the AZfront team, they regularly satisfy their self-esteem with our exposé. But who are we, in fact? AZfront allows itself a lot of things that are unthinkable for the Azerbaijani authorities, and which they would never approve. We announce and cover opposition actions against President Aliyev. We clandestinely organized exclusive video shootings in Karabakh after the anti-terrorist operation conducted there on September 19th to 20. While the Al Jazeera correspondent who infiltrated there was even expelled from the country for unauthorized filming. AZfront covers the activities of religious radicals inside the country, posts statements by authoritative Salafist preacher Sasitlinsky, and openly criticizes the main ally, Erdogan. AZfront persisted in calling Karabakh an Armenian enclave, although official Baku is categorically opposed to such a designation. Assistance to the special services of Ukraine and regular deliveries of humanitarian aid there, links with religious factions in the Israeli parliament, and attacks on the Minister of Intelligence, disclosure of secret documents of the General Staff, Military Intelligence, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Diaspora of Israel, holding rallies for the independence of Iranian Azerbaijanis in Tehran and Tabriz, disturbing the IRGC, as well as speeches in support of Iranian Azerbaijanis in Ukraine, conferences in Vienna and Strasbourg, publication of closed information about upcoming visits from the Middle East to Baku long before official publicity. It would be easier for any official to shoot himself than to give the green light to these liberties. In the Muslim republics of the former Soviet Union, the state apparatus is organized and functions in the same way. Each structure, including state corporations such as SOCAR, is engaged in a strictly specialized area. To meddle in the sphere of other departments is an unnecessary bother and a cause for friction. Officials are afraid of any novelty, are weaned to show initiative, and terribly dislike taking responsibility. Everything that goes beyond the limits is the prerogative of the first person. Under such unwritten rules, the activities of AZfront represent the unthinkable adventurism and unjustified risk. This is something that no leader would take responsibility for. AZfront drops the mask. Who we are. According to the moderate Republican mouthpiece, The National Interest, AZfront is based in Tabriz. One of Romania's leading media outlets, Stare Pasurs, reported that AZfront is run by Ukrainian and Azerbaijani journalists. The major Kiev-based periodical Telegraph notes, the pro-Ukrainian movement AZfront, which has emerged over the past year around a Telegram channel of the same name, is sponsored by Azerbaijani businessmen who, before the Russian invasion, had businesses in Kharkiv and Dnipro. Komsomolskaya Pravda, Russia, states, AZfront is a project of the Kiev junta and its overseas handlers, with the participation of the Western Jewish lobby supporting Zelensky, noting that even official Baku does not have such opportunities as AZfront. Our team consists of 12 people. The team is multinational. Azerbaijanis, who spent most of their lives in Kiev and Odessa, several Israelis, natives of Dnipro and Kharkiv, who grew up in Israel, served in the army there, worked in government agencies, and then returned to Ukraine. 2 more Ukrainians, 1 Lezgi and a Tatar from Tashkent. We complement each other's specialties. There are professional Orientalists, Caucasologists, journalists and political technologists, one SMM expert, and a video editor. The backbone of the group was formed in 2009 to 2010. At that time, we opened a consulting company in Kiev. At first, we worked only in Ukraine, but over time we expanded to other Eastern European countries. We consulted and acted as intermediaries for state and commercial structures in promoting relations with Azerbaijan, Turkey, Israel, and the Central Asian republics. Everything was great until the war broke out. As we have already written, we were in Kiev at the time. On February 25th, we literally ran into Russian assault groups on Podil. They were trying to make their way towards the Verkhovna Rada. A few months later, part of our team left Ukraine. The rest continued to work there until autumn. Hence our awareness of the SBU's interest in the Chechen diaspora and Israeli Caucasologists at the initial stage of the war. We left Ukraine, each of us in his own direction. After a lot of projects in Kiev, Vilnius, Warsaw, and Bucharest, we made a decent amount of money, so we didn't need funds. But very quickly we got bored. We lacked the action that we are so accustomed to. Besides, most of the members of our team are ideologists, hence our views on the past of Azerbaijani statehood and identity, the Armenian issue, the roots and essence of the Middle East conflict, the history and politicization of Islam. Thus, AZfront came into existence on October 17, 2022. And since our entire previous life was spent at the crossroads of East and Eastern Europe, the subject of the project was predetermined. Now we don't have an office or headquarters, so it's impossible to find us. And yes, we wrote the truth, noting that we have no official ties with the state bodies of Azerbaijan. There are only contacts, as in some other countries, Ukraine, Israel, Kazakhstan, Moldova, with individual mid-level officials who, on a personal level and not as civil servants, share AZfront's position on various regional topics. They periodically, whenever possible, provide us with news information. Over time, through old ties, groups of like-minded people appeared in Turkey, Iranian Azerbaijan, and EU countries, and we can already feel that a purely media project is gradually growing into a regional movement. As for the topic that has excited Armenian propagandists, we admit that we buy advertising, and we consider this to be perfectly legitimate. The money is ours, and it has been earned officially. And as we have repeatedly reported, after the New Year charity event, 4 large Azerbaijani businessmen who had businesses in Kharkiv and Dnipro before the war joined us. They mainly allocate funds to the AZfront charity fund opened in Kharkiv, which provides humanitarian aid to the residents of eastern Ukraine every month. The Caucasus and Middle East is closer to Europe and US than it seems at first glance. Subscribe and click on the bell in order to be informed of the main events. See you soon.